All right, welcome back to Big Red Wrap-Up. We are now joined by the head basketball coach of the University of Nebraska, Fred Hoiberg. Coach, we appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Before we get started, how you feeling?
I feel good. Yeah, I had a procedure a couple weeks ago to replace my pacemaker. It was starting to go low on battery. Kind of crazy. It's the third one that I've had now after the original one was put in after my first open heart surgery. And it's amazing where technology is. It was a very quick procedure, and I was back on the practice court 2 days later.
Hard to find time for something like that because you're so busy, obviously.
It is, yeah. I think the last day of battery was November 3rd, which is crazy to me that they know exactly the day on when it's going to happen. And I don't have what's called an escape rhythm. So if something were to happen to my pacemaker, I'm in trouble. So we just found a day where we had actually the weekend off. We'd given our guys Saturday, Sunday, so I went in Friday after practice, and then I was back on the court on Monday. A little more careful. I'm more on the sidelines just to make sure I don't get hit.
Oh, that's amazing. Let's talk about NIL and transfer portal compared to the first time you were a college basketball coach. How much of a difference is it? And is it more difficult or is it easier now to build a team?
Well, the portal was starting to come into its own, and I feel a little bit responsible, I guess, because we kind of built our team at Iowa State with transfers. And kind of my philosophy back then was we took over a pretty big rebuild, and in order for us to get competitive right away, our best chance was doing that through the transfer market. We weren't getting the top players out of high school at that time. And then when we had success, year two, made it to the tournament. That's back when those transfers actually had to sit out.
Right.
But, they gained very valuable experience and chemistry, and then got us into the tournament year two, and that led to 4 straight NCAA tournaments and 2 Big 12 tournament championships. And what we did after we got good with the transfers, then we started getting the right freshmen into our program that fit who we were, fit our system, both offensively, defensively. I guess the big difference now compared to those teams that we built at Iowa State was now everybody is in the transfer market. Back in the day, it wasn't as prevalent, I guess, as it is now. And then NIL is a whole different perspective, obviously, than anything that we've ever seen. And people are still, I think, trying to figure it out. With revenue sharing coming into play next year, there's going to be a lot of unanswered questions on how things still continue to work out with the collective and with NIL. But we're very thankful. We have a great collective here, 1890, the Pede family. Matt Davison have done a great job in putting us in a position to build a team, because you have to have that now in order to be competitive.
I want to ask you about that because we talk so much about football and even volleyball. How does it work? You're having a conversation with a student athlete. You want them to come to Nebraska. Then they go talk to 1890. How does that process work?
Yeah, that's basically how it does work. And there's rules in place, and we do everything in our power to stay within those rules. But I guess the biggest thing, you still try to sell everything that you can do for them as far as your program and what we've done in the track record of helping guys get to the next level. We've had 12 NBA players at the 2 places, Iowa State and Nebraska, in 10 years of college coaching. So 1.2 players per team coached have made it to the NBA. And that's a pretty good stat at schools, like this, where they don't walk in the door as pros or 5 stars. We really speak, I think, to the development, and our coaching staff does a phenomenal job with that, with player development. You see the growth of your players in the program. So none of that changes. It's just, going to speak to the collective and talking about NIL opportunities. Obviously that's a very new dynamic.
Yeah. I know you've said before, you want to get old, you want to stay old. You feel like you've kind of reached that point coming off a very successful last year going into this year?
Well, we were the oldest team in the league last year, and I really do think that played a big part in our success with last season's team. Even the year before, I really do think we would have been a tournament team had we stayed healthy that year. We had some really good wins early. The win at Creighton, winning a couple games in league early, and then Bandamel and Juwan Gary go down in pretty much back-to-back games. Now, that being said, we regrouped, and some guys got opportunities. Sam, being one of those. Jamarcus Lawrence was a guy that benefited from the injuries, and we ended up with the best record in the month of February that year, and then that carried over to last year's team. And, the thing I really appreciated and enjoyed most about that group a year ago was that there was no agendas. They came into work every day, and it just was a team that was so much fun. One of the most enjoyable years I've had in coaching. And then this year, talking to our staff, trying to identify the right guys to build off what we did a year ago, try to stay old, and I think we accomplished a lot of that.
You mentioned Sam a second ago, and I think all of us at some point coached our kids when they were like 5 or 6 or 7 years old. You're doing it now. And then I talked to Deion Sanders about this one time, too, about just the feeling before you go on the field or the court with you, and then while they're on there. What's that feeling like? He gets a big steal, he makes a big play, hits a 3.
Yeah, the thing with Sam is he's one of our hardest workers. And, when he did get his opportunity, I'll never forget the conversation I had with him. We were playing at Penn State. Bandamel went down with a crazy knee injury, and we knew he would be out for the remainder of the season. And Sam, at that time, I sat him down on the long flight back and just said, hey, you're the third point guard now. You got to be ready to play. Next game, he was in there. He played really well against Northwestern. And then the next game at Maryland, he led us in scoring. He had 15 off the bench. And then he's been a staple in the rotation ever since. And the thing, he has the respect of our players because of how hard he works. There's no entitlement with Sam. Everything he gets is earned. But when you take a step back, I think that's the kind of the cool thing as a parent is when you go back and you're watching the film and you see the big steal against Maryland.
Yeah.
And, my parents were at that game. My in-laws were there. His twin brother came back for that game. So, that's when I think it kind of sinks in. This is really pretty cool.
Yeah. Did you have a chance to see LeBron and Bronny go out together? When we're taping this, that happened last night. But what do you think about that as a parent?
I did. I saw that, and that's remarkable that LeBron, and he's still one of the most athletic players in the league, and he's got his kid playing on the same team. But, yeah, that was a pretty special moment.
Let's talk about the post position with Rink not playing this year. You bring in some transfers. Some I can pronounce their names, some I can't. Well, how do you feel about that post position and trying to replace what Rink did as not just a post guy, but as a facilitator?
Yeah, I mean, we miss Rink. We'll miss Rink a lot this year because he did lead us in assists last year. And, the guy that really benefited from that a lot was Casey.
Yeah.
And, he made so many plays at the rim. Everybody saw what he did from the perimeter, but he had so many plays at the basket where he was a very efficient finisher. But, a lot of that was because of Rink's passing ability. And also Josiah. Josiah did a nice job as well, and he really grew in that role. Now this year it's two completely different players in Braxton Mia and Andrew Morgan. And in Burke, he's the other one at 6'10", where we can play, a little bit more, not necessarily small, but more skilled out there on the floor. So it's different dynamics. Braxton's 7'1", rim protector, can put heat on the rim as a lob threat.
Yeah.
Andrew's really good with his back to the basket. A really good footwork on the block, and then Burke's ability to shoot the ball and pass the ball at that same kind of trail position that Rink played. So we've got different dynamics. We're not going to replace Rink with one guy, but again, I like what we've added in that area.
Bryce was obviously successful last year. When you're ending a season, you're talking to one of your best players. What do you tell them to get better? What do you tell them to work on so they can take it to the next level?
Yeah, I think the overall message with Bryce is consistency, and he finished the year on a really high note, especially getting to the free throw line. That's one area where he really thrived at the end of last season and really played probably his best couple weeks of his career at the end of last season. So he had momentum going into this year, and there's no doubt about it. He's going to be our go-to guy this season. We're going to play through Bryce a lot. One thing that benefited him a year ago without a true point guard is he played with the ball in his hands a lot, and that's going to help him for his long-term career and also for our team this season. But, I was really proud of Bryce, how he grew, but he's got great versatility, especially for a guy that's 6'7".
Yeah, you guys did amazing without your point guard position, obviously having Ulis come in and not be able to play. How do you feel about that position? I guess Raleigh's going to be your starter, and kind of talk us how Ulis will work in it as well.
Yeah, I feel good about our point guard spot without really having a true point guard last year. It was more by committee, and then Rink brought the ball up the floor for us a lot last year as well. But now you got Ulis, who has been a starter in this league on some really good Iowa teams that made it to the NCAA tournament, and then Raleigh, who was leading Utah to an NCAA tournament berth, and then he got hurt, unfortunately, in the middle of the season. But, and talking to people in that league and people that have been around him, all they talk about is he's a winner, and he'll do whatever it takes. He's not, the overly flashy or, not a guy that's going to go out and shoot the ball every time. It's all about getting others involved and setting the team up and, getting us organized defensively. But I think both those guys, with their experience, both in their fifth year of college basketball, is a great benefit to our group.
I grew up at the beginning of the Big East where there was no nights off. Now you're in this 18-team conference with all these teams. What kind of talk to us about that feeling, that experience, and kind of trying to figure out how you put together a non-conference schedule to get you ready for that kind of league.
Yeah, league's a monster, and there really is no nights off. You're not going to face any team where you could go out and say, all right, we're going to get this one. Every game is going to be a war, a battle, and you just got to go out and prepare as well as you can and try to stay consistent. There's going to be ups and downs, highs and lows, and we have to stay consistent through it all, whatever the outcome of the game. As far as our non-conference, I feel good about our schedule. We have a good MTE in Hawaii, where we're going to play there over Christmas. The St. Mary's game, they're going to be one of the top teams in the country this year, top 20 team up at the Pentagon. and then on the road against Creighton, and then some really good high-quality mid-major opponents as well. So I feel good about our schedule that will help prepare us for league play.
You were such a great shooter. I know you can teach shooting. Juwan Gary got better last year. How do you get him up, over 30% in a place where you want him to be three-point shooting?
Yeah, he got up over that for a while last year and then went into a pretty good slump. But he hit some really timely ones for us. And when you look at his volume of three-point shots, they're almost double, last year what he'd shot in 2 years at Alabama. And we want Juwan to shoot the open ones. What we need to continue to work on is with the contest, either driving it, getting by it, making a play for somebody else, or going right to an uphill toss to a shooter that might be in the next spot. But when he's got an open shot, yes, we expect him to shoot it, and he's really worked hard on it, especially the offseason and then into the fall.
When you have ever a press conference or conversation about this team, you name so many names. How do you work that to get your starters ready, to have that bench ready, and then even the extra guys if you need them?
Yeah, that is going to be the biggest job this year for me and the staff is who's going to be in the rotation,
right?
Who's going to start, more importantly, who's going to finish. And I don't know if we'll have it all figured out at the beginning. We didn't last year, but we fell into it and it worked. So, this year I think I know who's going to be out there, but again, I think I've got 13 guys that can make an impact. It's obviously hard to play that many, so we're going to have a rotation. And the big thing to our guys, the message, your role at the beginning of the year may not be the same, and you always have to keep yourself ready and keep yourself prepared. And I think we have a mature group and a good enough group to handle that. Now it's just about going out and accepting whatever role you have.
Casey brought so much energy, whether he was making shots or just smiling or whatever else. Who are your energy guys this year to kind of replace his spot?
I think we got a lot of energy guys. I don't know if there's one true leader of this year's group. Rink and Josiah did such a good job in that area a year ago. Raleigh, I think, has very good natural leadership skills. Sam is a good leader. Bryce has really grown in that area. And we're going to have Juwan help lead in certain situations. So I think it's a group that can go out there and lead, especially by example. Still trying to figure out who's going to be that vocal leader. When things get tough, you have to have that guy that can calm things down, bring everybody in. As I tell them all the time, I get 4 timeouts. I don't have unlimited. So you guys are going to have to figure this out on the court. And our biggest challenge is playing through adversity. And this league is going to hit us every night. If you play through adversity, you're going to be fine.
Last thing, playing at Pinnacle, I know you've been all kind of venues, in NBA to college to high school. The energy that the crowd brings, can you talk a little bit about what they do?
It's one of the best atmospheres in all of college basketball. And even when we bring in players, we've got a couple, Connor Siege and Gavin Griffiths, 2 guys we haven't talked about yet, but both those guys are going to have big impacts on our team. But when you bring them in, you talk about the league and where did you like playing, who had the best atmospheres, and the 2 that they always the thought that they brought up was Purdue and Nebraska, Pinnacle Bank Arena. So I think it speaks to the record that we had undefeated in league a year ago, and it's so nice to have that when things aren't going well. And I look back at that Wisconsin game. Purdue was awesome, beating the number 1 team in the country, but coming back from 19 against a really gritty, tough Wisconsin team a year ago, I think was the biggest win of the season for us last year, and a big part of that was because of our fans.
No doubt. Coach, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good luck this season.
Yeah.
Thanks for taking the time.